My definition of playing big is it's simply being more loyal to your dreams than your fears.
There is a deep knowing now that it is about the commitment to stay that course, right? No matter what the outcomes are along the way, that really is where all the magic is happening.
It's so important that we understand that playing big is not achieving your dreams. It's not what you're doing once you see them realized. It's actually about where is your personal loyalty.
My own fear of criticism, of not looking good, of judgment, of what people would say was stopping me from having that path that was about following my dreams. So can you unpack a little bit, why does criticism hold so much power over us? This is episode 160 of the Brilliant Balance podcast. And today I'm speaking with a true kindred. Tara Mohr is the author of Playing Big. And I have to tell you, she has a beautiful mind. I first discovered Tara's work back in 2014, and it was through a New York Times op-ed piece that she had written. And I will never forget sitting on my sofa, reading her words and thinking, oh my goodness, who is this woman? Where are these ideas coming from? This is so deeply resonant. And it's no surprise that Tara also works with brilliant women. And her mission is to help them play big. Now, I want you to think about it. The typical discussion around inequality, around the barriers for women, focuses on the external barriers, right? The whole conversation is really rooted in things like legislation and pay disparities and lack of legal protection and the denial of rights. And all of these things are true, right? All of these things are real, and they are fundamentally a part of the challenge. But what Tara believes is that even though that playing field isn't completely even, women can actually advance more by focusing on breaking down their internal barriers to playing big. And I couldn't agree more. Her, belief is that the way that we move through the world, how we think of ourselves, is really not only shaped by the externals, but also the internals, by what we see as truly possible for our lives and for our work. And Tara's mission is really to help women work through those internalized barriers. And today, she's here to help us. With an undergraduate degree in English literature from Yale, which will make a whole lot of sense when you hear one important part of this episode, and an MBA from Stanford, Tara has crafted a multifaceted career as a writer, a coach, and a personal growth teacher. She is the author of Playing Big, Practical Wisdom for Women Who Want to Speak Up, Create, and Lead. And she's the creator of the courses that follow the book's teaching. Tara lives and works in San Francisco with her husband and 2 small children, and I can't wait another minute for you to meet her. So let's introduce you to Tara Mohr. So Tara, welcome to the show. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be talking to you again.
Awesome. So we are here to talk about playing big, not just the book, but the philosophy, the entire movement that you really instigated. I've heard you say playing big is being more loyal to your dreams than to your fears, but tell me your definition of the whole essence of that term.
Yeah. Well, because often when people, especially women, and especially maybe now during this time when so many of us are overwhelmed, maybe we've got kids doing school at home, we've got a lot, we hear playing big and we're like, I've got a lot on my plate already. That sounds overwhelming. Or often I hear from people like, does everyone really need to play big? What if I just kind of play right sized? Isn't that the world of kind of ego that I don't want to get into? So yeah, my definition of playing big is it's simply being more loyal to your dreams than your fears. And that definition really came out of my own personal experience of going through a time when I felt, what's happening here? My life is just feeling very grayed out, and I kind of feel like life is happening on the other side of a window, and I'm watching people feel things and live dynamic lives. And I'm kind of stuck here in this fearful place, not wanting to take risks, doing work I'm not passionate about, having really lost my creative self and my spiritual self. And so that, as the pain of that got greater, I started to do some of my own soul searching and what's going on and what happened to my dreams. And up one night in the middle of the night, that was kind of the phrase that came to mind. Just, oh, there's, where is my loyalty, my fear, or my dreams? And the thing I also want to underscore about that is I think it's so important that we understand that playing big is not achieving your dreams. It's not what you're doing once you see them realized. It's actually about where is your personal loyalty. As I think where, I know where I got stuck was when I became the skeptic in relationship to my dreams and hopes for my life instead of the ally. And I think it's really hard to remain the ally in our culture of your own individual dreams, especially as a woman. So the first shift we make is that inner one of where am I going to put my loyalty? Where am I going to put my alliance? And then all the, the achievement stuff is down the road and actually doesn't matter all that much if your loyalty is fully there and you're on the journey.
I could not agree with that statement more. And I think I would have questioned it 10 years ago when I was beginning that chapter in my life of really aligning my work, my day in and day out life with my dreams. I would have said it was more connected to the outcome, but there is a deep knowing now that it is about the commitment to stay that course, right? No matter what the outcomes are along the way, that really is where all the magic is happening. So
Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more. And yet, when I think about what trips us up, you said you were the skeptic of your own dreams. I think a lot of us are. There's also a lot of external criticism that comes at us when we start doing something that looks maybe a little out of the box or off of our traditional path. And I want to read a little piece from your New York Times op-ed. You're probably so sick of hearing this, but it'll be new to people listening. You said, if a woman wants to do substantive work of any kind, she's going to be criticized with comments not just about her work, but also about herself. She must develop a way of experiencing criticism that allows her to persevere in the face of it. And these were powerful words. When I read these in 2014, when this piece was published, it was the thing that first connected me to your work because it so deeply resonated that my own fear of criticism, of not looking good, of judgment, of what people would say was stopping me from having that path that was about following my dreams. So can you unpack a little bit, why does criticism hold so much power over us?
Yeah. Well, there's a few reasons we can think about. So one is, how is criticism and why is criticism landing differently for women? I was so shocked when I started coaching women. I could hear when we were talking about the criticism that might come or the criticism that had come, there was like a trembling in people's voice that said to me, this person feels their life is threatened. Why is that? Why is that? Why is this feel so high stakes? And I could completely relate to that myself. Like, why am I going into total fight or flight, survival threat kind of feeling? But then I thought about our history as women in cultures where, we have not had political rights until very recently. We have not had the right to own financial property, which is a big key to ensuring one's own safety, right? Like if I need to leave a situation, but I don't have a bank account or my own assets, how do I do that? I'm probably not going to protect myself based on my physical might. I don't have legal protection in a lot of situations. So how do I survive? I survive through likability. I survive through social relational tools. I know how to be a shapeshifter. I know how to adapt and fit in. I know how to do what will be approved of, right?
Yep.
And that's our history, whether it's your conscious history, whether you got that message in some way from your mother or your grandmother, whether you watched women in your lineage adapting to it, or whether I think it's just in ourselves, also thousands of years of that history. So when we're criticized, it's raising that fear of, oh, am I about to be exiled from the tribe? Is my fundamental survival strategy, I'm not using it in this situation, and what does that mean?
Yeah.
So that's one big reason. A second is that women really do receive different kinds of criticism than our male counterparts. There's a study that I quoted in that article looking at, in this case, looking at performance reviews in a variety of tech companies. And they did this linguistic analysis and compared for women and men how their performance reviews were different. And they found, not a huge shocker, women were getting more negative feedback than men. What was really stunning was this finding that when women got negative feedback, 73% included a criticism of their personality. Mm-hmm. And for men, that number was 2%.
That's just insane. But so true. So
true.
Yeah.
Right? And we all know that, I mean, anyone on the call who at any point has been told they're abrasive, aggressive, maybe too direct, maybe not authoritative enough, these vague things that have nothing to do with how you're actually meeting performance objectives in a job, or maybe it's someone else, on the parent committee at your kid's school that's saying that to you.
Yep.
And it's important to know it's not that just that men are doing that to women. Women are doing that to each other just as much, or some studies suggest even more. We're policing each other's behavior in that way. So if what's up for criticism is not just, my argument or my presentation, but my very lovability, likability, my very belonging, I'm going to be a lot more petrified of feedback.
Yes. And we're watching this play out as we're recording this, we're in election week. And I think you look across all the races at the personal attacks, right? The inappropriately personal criticism that shows up in that arena as well. It's not surprising that so few people are willing to even run, right, for elected office.
Right.
Terrifying.
Yeah. And you can really see, politics is a great realm to see where I think of it as what's the range of emotional expression that is permitted.
Yes.
And that's very different still in our culture for men and women.
Definitely. So it's clear that, reshaping our relationship with criticism, thinking of how are we going to tolerate or receive or not internalize that criticism is so important. But in your work, you suggest that not only do we have to unhook from criticism, but also from its twin sister, praise. And that's a little more hard to swallow because I would say most of us love our shiny gold star. Right? Yeah. Bring on the shiny gold stars. Yes. So talk a little bit with us about why do we have to unhook from both?
Yeah. Well, so one of the things that really surprised me when I first started my coaching practice is that a lot of the women who were like hitting the biggest walls with their careers or kind of their creative dreams had been the best students in school. The ones who had actually struggled in school and not been really connected to their good student identity, we're kind of having an easier time with the bumps and transitions of career. But for people who got really used to, I always get the gold star, what happens when you get to the place in your career where you're not going to get all the gold stars.
Right.
Because maybe the field is polarized and anything that one part of the field really likes, another part doesn't. Or maybe you're just senior enough that you have to make hard decisions now or fire people or, do things that are controversial, right? So if we're attached to praise and if we're looking to the praise as kind of our measuring stick, we kind of age out of that as we get to greater levels of responsibility or leadership or our dreams get bigger. And then we have to be able to hold this I'm going to have mixed reactions. For me, it was really formative, being a good student type, always trying to win everyone over, get all the A's, thinking that was the paradigm. And then I went into the nonprofit sector the first few years of my career. I was in the social sector, and there were very few women executives of major organizations where I was working. But the few that there were extremely successful, had like these 20-year tenures where they had grown their budgets, of the organizations, incredible, and they were extremely controversial. And in the community, they had like a set of fans and a set of people that just thought they were, and the gender comments came with it, they were evil and they were this and they were inappropriate. And yet they were thriving and their organizations were thriving. And I was so stunned, from my kind of good girl, good student perspective to be like, it's just been going on like this for 2 decades, that some people love them and hate them, and it's fine.
Yeah, it's so fine. They're surviving, right?
It's fine, you know? Yeah. So I think we have to learn, you know, how to just understand that there's going to be mixed reactions. Criticism comes with the territory. It's probably an indication we're doing something right. And then the thing that helps us do that, the core principle that we talk about in Playing Big, is feedback always tells you about the person giving the feedback. It doesn't tell you about you.
Yes. I wonder if it's possible that, you know, as you're saying this, that the best ideas are polarizing. Like, there really aren't universally accepted. There's not really a pathway to say this is a big idea or a big initiative and it's going to be universally accepted. So by definition, does it always come with sort of two sides, or people who are going to love it and hate it? If you want to do anything that has meaning, right? That's not so watered down to just be vanilla.
Right. Ideas, actions, or just leaders, you know, like that people have different tastes for leadership styles and different comfort zones. And so you're just not going to be
everyone's
taste or within everyone's comfort zone. Yeah.
Yes. That is fascinating. And it feels like we need to tune into a more internal voice than an external voice, right? Praise and criticism, external voices coming at us, and we're trying to discern our value, our worth through that chorus of voices. Let's talk about your model of the inner mentor and how that serves as an inner voice to help us establish ourselves.
Yeah. So the inner mentor is based on a tool that comes out of the Coactive Coach Training Institute, where I did my original coach training, where they ask all of their trainees to go through this exercise of meeting your future self. And you do this in a guided meditation. So it's really important that what you're doing here, it's not like if you and I were to just say right now, so in 20 years, Cheryl Ann, you know, what do you think you'll be doing? Because what our conscious minds tend to go to is like, oh, how are the wrinkles going to be in 20 years? Will I still be married? No, we're going to a totally deeper level than that. So we're going into kind of a meditative, relaxed state and going into a visualization, because for any kind of personal growth work, imagery brings us something really different than words and thoughts. And much like dream imagery, really rich, kind of symbolic and surprising material can come that way. So we're on that guided visualization just to see, okay, ourselves in 20 years, who do we meet? And I was so moved when I first saw that exercise happen, because what I saw was most people had a very, very moving experience. And they didn't just meet their older self. They seemed to meet their essential soulful self, or their voice of inner wisdom, kind of this inner elder. And that inner elder had a lot of answers for them. And as a spiritual seeker myself, you know, I'm very interested in, I very much believe we have the higher self, we have the wisdom, we have the well of love, we have the place of calm. It's all about what do we do in our lives to tap into it and access it regularly. And the inner mentor is like a very universal tool where we don't need to use any religious, language that's particular to any religious tradition. It doesn't need to have an explicitly spiritual focus, but it does take us to that place. And so I've kind of evolved that tool. I think of it now as the inner mentor, because what I saw is once we access that inner elder, we can really relate to it like a mentor. Yes. We can say, what would you say here? What would you do in this situation? And the answers are right there for us. Maybe today when we're doing questions, we can do a little coaching with someone around that, because it's powerful to see. So the true playing big really, is growing into our inner mentor self and doing what she would have us do.
It's such a beautiful mechanism. And I think some people really struggle with it when they read the book and try to kind of connect with it, especially like very linear. I have a path I think I'm on. I can't really get outside of it. And other people are so immediately moved by that access, like tapping access to the knowingness that was already there. But because it was internal, I think it's much less likely that we're tuning into it. There's so much externalization, looking for guidance and, the committee support of all of our external advisors. It's a new muscle, really, to sort of turn inward and find that knowingness.
Exactly. And when I do the Playing Big courses, we're together, a group of women for 6 months. One of our foundational rules is no asking for or giving advice. Because we need a gym to begin to develop that muscle. And so the course is this like special contained environment that can be that gym where we're all learning how, first of all, how do I support another woman without giving advice, right? And then also, how do I navigate with my life, my questions without asking for advice?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And I know that one of the things that the inner mentor relationship has allowed me to do is navigate fear, right? Mm-hmm. When fear rises up and your instinct is to retreat, fight or flight or freeze, this relationship is something that's given me some freedom to move forward in fear. And when I read your book, again, I think it was 2015, right, when it came out. One of the things that stopped me in my tracks, and I asked you this the first time we spoke years ago, was your take on fear, specifically looking at 2 types of fear. Can you talk about these? Because this is really one of those most mind-opening ideas that I took from the book, and I want everyone to hear it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it was really mind-opening for me too when I first came across this. I was reading a beautiful book by Rabbi Alan Liu, and he was speaking about how in the Old Testament stories there are 2 different words used for fear. The first word is pachad, and the way he defined pachad is it's our fear of projected or imagined things. So when we imagine what could happen, and I love the word projected because I always think when we actually project the movie, on our mind screen of like how the worst thing that's going to play out.
Yes.
So it can be kind of our catastrophizing fear, our thinking, ruminating into the future fear. And I think we're all pretty familiar with that fear. Then he went on,
I'd say.
Right? Yeah, intimately. And we talk about it a lot, and in the coaching world, we talk about it.
Yeah.
Anyone wanted to say, well, then there's this other word, yirah. And yirah is used in a few different kinds of instances. It's used to describe the feeling we feel when we suddenly come into possession of more energy than we normally have, when we are inhabiting a larger space than we're used to, or when we're in the presence of the sacred. And so when Moses is at the burning bush, this is the word used to describe what he's feeling. So it's sometimes translated as related to awe, a sense of awe, also with a sense of fear in it, kind of a sense of being thrilling, is another word sometimes we think about. So when I read that, I was maybe, I don't know, a year or something into my very early coaching practice. And I just sat back and was like, oh, this has been a missing piece, because in a coaching conversation, if it's good and it's working, the client is going to have those moments of yirah. To me, if a client is sharing a really intimate, fundamental truth about their lives they haven't admitted to themselves before, there's a sacredness that hangs in the air in that moment. Or they're stepping into a larger space in their lives through the coaching relationship. And then there's a certain kind of fear that comes with that. And I thought, gosh, I've been treating this like regular old fear. I've been treating all it when those moments would happen and the client would say, now I feel scared. I'm like, okay, here are the fear tools. And I realized, no, we have to actually really treat yirah differently. We're not trying to just shift out of it, like it's this unhelpful fear. We need to breathe into it. We need to learn how to welcome it. We need to learn how to do the things in our lives that bring it.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'll just say, you know, another way I've come to think of it is pahad is sort of when our ego is threatened, the fear. Yira is when we're doing something that transcends our ego. This other kind of fear that comes, which is also is sort of the ego's fear of like, am I going to disappear? Like, what does this mean if right now you, Cheryl Ann, feel connected to something larger or united with others or elevated and spiritually connected, right? There's a fear that comes with that because it is this heightened sort of, it's a state that's scary for another part of us.
A different reason. Yes. Yeah. I think of it as the energy of possibilities. Like that, Yira to me is it's the energy of possibilities, of starting to glimpse like what may be possible and sort of wanting to retract from it, but not out of, you know, a terrifying outcome, just like that's a lot, you know, that's a lot to take in. And so sometimes I think we retract quickly in the same way we do when, you know, there's a fire breathing dragon that we want to retract from. So, but they're not the same. And that was, I hope everybody sits with that for an extra beat or two, because that is a really mind-opening idea of leaning into and toward that second kind of fear. Such a good, you're so good at reframing ideas with fresh language. And I think it's because you're so in tune with your creative, you know, beyond the work you do as a coach and a teacher, you're so deeply connected with your own creative spirit. And that just shines through. Your poetry, as an example, is beautiful. And I wonder if you would share a piece with us today.
Sure. Yeah. I'm just gonna like, this is my little poetry book, which is lesser known than the Playing Big book, but, and it has definitely been part of my Playing Big to write poetry, you know, give myself permission to write poetry, quiet my inner critic around that. Okay. I'm going to do the real life. I'm just going with my gut here of what's good for you. What's good for this group. Okay. This is called The Real Life. Don't be greedy with the universe, she said to me. But she didn't say it in the mean way. She didn't say, don't dream big, don't want things, don't think you deserve. She meant, look at your life and trust it. Notice how you have been forever given what you need. Notice how while you've been ranting and wanting, enoughness has gathered around you like stones around a fire. How while you've been making lists of what should be, wishing the set and costumes were different, there was a whole other play happening on another stage. The real life. Witnessed when you hand $1 to the woman behind the register, in the color of an orange, in the magic laugh. Never calling, just crackling, speaking in tones. The real life. Cup your hands and ask for it. Start looking. Sweetness. Honey in a bowl. Nectar.
You're so talented.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, I just want to give that a breath or two. What a beautiful piece. I really want to make sure we link to your poetry book in the notes too. So you'll have
called Your Other Names. It's on Amazon.
Your Other Names.
Yeah.
Wonderful. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful work. And I think, Tara, one of the things I love about you is you're such a great shining example of being in touch with the, you know, not just duality, but multiplicity of who you are, right? And really keeping yourself firmly planted in those various arenas. It's not typical. I think a lot of us feel compelled to sort of choose a path and shut down others. Yeah. Tell me how that's played into your Playing Big journey, like keeping all of those avenues open.
Yeah, I love that question because, you know, when I was like growing up, this was hard. It was hard, you know, like I grew up with a mom who was like talking about Freud and Jung and Buddhism and everything every day. And, but then I would go to school and it was like, so my mom's like, we're all one. And I'm like, go to school. And they're like, no, we're going to rank the people, in the class. And some of you get to go to the smart kids class and some not. And I was like, we're all children of God. And they're like, well, we are, but, like we're going to rank the children of God. Or, my mom would be like, everything is motivated by our psychology. And then I'd go to school and I'd be like, well, then how come we're not like, talking about like the psychology of any of the people who started this war or that war? Like, why aren't we talking about their life from age 0 to 5? So it was very dualistic. And I often felt really like a fish out of water in both environments. And even, when I was choosing to go to graduate school, it was comical. It was like, I remember like there was one fall, I was trying to decide what field even to go into to find a way to express my passions. And there was like a week where I went to the hippie transpersonal psychology graduate program open house. And when I got to the open house and they had everyone sit on the floor, in a circle, and there was a lotus in the middle of the circle, and we all shared, why. And then like on the Thursday, I went to the MBA program open house where everyone was in suits and I was, the artsy fish out of water. So it was very hard to find the place in the world. But what I want to say, and what I really want everyone to know, I think is so important, is that, it's been a surprise to me to see how like the very things that made me a fish out of water in different environments growing up that's now the combination of elements that I hear people saying, that's why I love your work, or that's what makes it different for me. They say, well, I like that you're this spiritual poet, but you have this prestigious MBA. And so my left brain can trust you, or, whatever it is. And so I just think we have to reject the world's categories. I think there's a lot of BS there. And it often happens for women entrepreneurs too. Like, am I going to be a this or a this? And, I just always ask back, like, show me your overwhelming evidence that you have to choose. Like, have your customers actually said to you like 50 times, sorry, this is too confusing for me. I can't handle that there's also this section on your website. If they haven't, then proceed, just proceed with the different things you love. And I think those things do become what makes our work special and a differentiator.
It's like widening the identity enough to encompass all of ourselves, right? That it's not, okay, I have to get into this suit and this kind of uniform and this state to be successful, but maybe the magic is the triangulation. How do you bring all those different pieces of you together into uniqueness, right? Because that's what we're missing. There's so many cookie cutter, try to be in this model or that model. It's the uniqueness that is celebrated.
And we don't even have to unify them. I think sometimes then people feel like they have to think of the business plan that brings them all together. You can also just run them on concurrent paths, and that's fine too.
That's beautiful.
It doesn't have to be, you don't have to understand the coherence of it.
I love that idea. You don't even have to understand the coherence of it. There's freedom in that idea.
Yeah. Other people probably will more than you will.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Oh, awesome. That's so good. So I could talk to you all day, and I probably would, but I'm going to do a speed round to bring this interview to a close. Maybe we'll get to
I'm going to get my buzzer. Okay.
Yeah. First thing that comes to mind. So I'm going to do, that's just short, 5 questions. First thing is, what makes you feel brilliant?
Oh, this question was so interesting. This was the one that I'm like, I don't know if I can do that, Speedy. What makes me feel brilliant? I think these days I would say actually I feel really in my element. That's how I'll put it, like teaching the Playing Big course. I'm 10 years in, and it just steeps more, and it steeps with motherhood. And so I really feel in my element when I'm doing that these days.
What's your favorite time-saving or productivity hack?
Not being perfectionistic.
What have you learned to say no to?
Sugar.
What's one big dream you're chasing these days?
Oh, I must have forgotten that one. Well, I'm renovating a house for the first time, and that is like a really fun big dream. And there's a lot of chasing. It's mostly chasing contractors and other people that don't always
You're
come
building a
around
dream
when
as
they're
you're
supposed
chasing
to
it.
come around. But I'm chasing I love interior design, and so I'm chasing certain visions of certain rooms, and it's super fun. Yeah.
I love it. What is a song that you turn on when you need to get in the zone?
The one that came to mind is Closer to Fine by the Indigo Girls.
Love that song. Love that song. Tara, thank you for being with us, for sharing your wisdom with this, with our listeners today. I hope everyone finds their way to your work through this show. Where's the best place to find you online?
TaraMohr.com is the website, TaraMohr. And yeah, information about the book, the courses is all there, and lots of writing.
We will link that up in the show notes. So everything that you all need, just scroll on down. You can get to all the links to Tara's book, the poetry book, her website, and all the things. Tara, thank you again for being with us.
Thank you.
Okay, that was so fun. So delicious. I hope you loved every minute of just letting Tara's wisdom wash over you, and especially that exceptional poem. I have everything linked up for you in the show notes from her work. Please go check it out. Please find your way to her work, most notably to her book, Playing Big. And I hope that she enriches your life as much as she has enriched mine. She is truly just a beautiful mind and an exceptional human, and I am so thrilled that we were able to have her on the show. If you are new to the Brilliant Balance podcast, please make sure you come join us in the Brilliant Balance Facebook group. You can do that by going to Facebook and searching for Brilliant Balance, or you can follow along on Instagram at brilliant_balance, or you can find me personally at C.Skolnicki. I would love to have you welcomed into this community and following along. And of course, please make sure that you subscribe to the show if you like today's episode so that you never miss an episode. That's all for today, my friends. Until next time, let's be brilliant.